Hello everyone and welcome back to Codekru. So in today's video we are going to see how we can read the data from Excel sheets and use it in our TestNG and Selenium scripts. So when building very large scale automation frameworks, we should be decoupling our test data from the test logic. That means that we should be keeping our data in one place and test logic should be kept in some other place. So now where should we keep our test data? Now there are multiple data sources, like we can keep the test data in databases, we can keep the test data in Excel sheets, and many more, right? So in this video we are only going to cover how to keep the data in Excel sheets, read the data from it, and then use it in our Selenium or TestNG scripts. Okay, so let's move on to discuss the implementation part. But first we would need such a library using which we can actually read the Excel file. So in this case we will be using the Apache POI. So Apache POI is one of the most widely used libraries to actually read and write into the Excel sheets. So we will be just copying the dependency from here and paste it in our project. So we already have the TestNG and the Selenium dependencies. So we are just not copying it. So we are just copying the Apache POI libraries. Okay. So with this, now we have the capability to read the data from an Excel file. So let's create an Excel file and just try to read the data from that. So we already had created one file which is testdata.xlsx, and here you will see that we have kept a URL as a column name. These are the two values that we have kept within that column. So we will try to read these two values from this Excel file, and we have kept this Excel file in source main resources folder. Here you can see this is the Excel file. We can, I think, delete this one. Not need, this is not needed. So yeah, so we have the testdata.xlsx file here in our source main resources folder. So now what's left is actually writing the code to get the data from the Excel file. So we were just thinking that we could simply write a utility class, and that class will just have a single function where we can just pass the name of the file and it will get us the data that was inside the file. So we have already written such a utility in our blog. So don't worry, we will also paste the link of this block in the description, so you can always get the code that was written in this video. This is the utility Excel utils. So let me just copy the name of this class. Let's create a class right here, Java class util. Okay, now I can just paste the whole code. Don't worry about the length of the code. It is a very simple and easy to understand code actually. So if you see here, we have just kind of passed the file path and the sheet name. So what is the file path here? The file path is source main resources testdata.xlsx. What is the sheet name? Sheet name is sheet 1. Okay, so this is the sheet name. So don't get confused. Okay, so here we are just opening the Excel file and then we are just creating the workbook instance. So this will work with both the extensions. Okay, so now this whole sheet or this whole Excel file is now a workbook. Okay, and what we want is we want to get this particular sheet only. So what we will do, we will just use this function workbook.getSheet. Okay, and then afterwards we want to get the number of rows and number of columns, and then we will just iterate over those number of rows and number of columns and put the data in this 2D array. Okay, but why we are using the 2D array? Because later on in this video we will be actually using the data provider, and data provider requires a 2D array actually. So that's why we have also kept the return type of this function as a 2D array. So now let's create the data provider and the test case that will receive the data from this Excel sheet itself. So let's go to the Codekru test class. Here we will be creating, let's say, a simple test case, public void test1, let's say, and this is a test. Now this test will receive data from a data provider. So public, the return type of a data provider is object to like 2D array, and let's say test data is the name of the data provider. So what is the file path? The file path is source main resources and then testdata.xlsx, right? Now we can just simply call the Excel utils utility and call this function get Excel data. pass the file path here, and what is the sheet name? Sheet name is sheet 1. This is it, right? Let's annotate it with data provider. Name of the data provider can be test data. Now this test has to use this data provider, so we can just mention data provider is equal to test data. Now there is only a single URL column, so we can just only pass a single parameter here, which is URL. Now we can just print the URLs here. Let's run this test case. You can see, right, both of the URLs are now printed in the console. So this is how easy it is in TestNG to actually read the data from the Excel sheet, use it in the data provider, and then pass the data provider information to a test case. Now this test case was run 2 times because there were 2 rows in the Excel sheet. Similarly, we can also write a Selenium test case where we can simply open the URL that was provided by the data provider or that was written in the Excel sheet. So let me just write the code for the same here itself, which is web driver new Chrome driver dot manage dot window dot maximize, just to maximize the browser, driver dot get, and let's say URL. Now 2 windows, or we can say 2 browsers, should be open. Let me also write the quit statement. Let me just write, or let me just run it. I hope you were able to see it, that test one was executed 2 times, and each time a different URL was opened. Okay, you can also see here. And that's it for our video. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Codekru for more tutorials just like this. And also please feel free to drop a comment if you have any doubts or concerns regarding this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.